Welcome to Healthcare Huddle, the podcast dedicated to interprofessional collaboration in sports medicine. I'm Katie, and today we are joined by a flight nurse to discuss their perspective, experiences, and what collaboration looks like in real practice. Let's get into today's huddle. Today I have Carson. He is a flight nurse, and he's going to kind of give us the specifics on what he actually does. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, by the way. I didn't realize this was a new thing when you reached out to me, which is pretty cool to be like one of the first ones. And I don't know if I deserve that part of the throne, but it's really cool to be part of it. But anyway, yeah, I'm a flight nurse now. So a lot of people don't really know what that means. I've come to find some people think it's a flight attendant. Some people ask me if I'm the pilot and I fly it, and that would be a terrible day if I was flying the thing. But realistically, in other countries, you tend to find that they have doctors on aircraft. In America, the United States of America, I should say, we usually have nurses on the aircraft in the place of a doctor's role, and we kind of assume a physician assistant role, very similar to a paramedic. So my system is very cookie cutter. It's the way 90% or so of the helicopter EMSs are set up, like helicopter EMS crews are set up, where it's me as the nurse. I usually have a paramedic or another nurse partner, and then we have one pilot on the aircraft, and we're out flying around. A lot of people ask like what types of things we take care of, which is a very fair question. And the response is anything time sensitive, typically. So anything that's an active heart attack, an active stroke, a trauma, anything that meets some sort of time sensitive criteria. A lot of times the ground units that we work with do an incredible job and an incredible scope. So it's not necessarily they need us for the critical care aspect that we provide. A lot of times we're providing time and speed. And that's our big MO right there.
Wow. Yeah, that's super cool. I think you're right. Like, there's so much in healthcare, which is why I wanted to start that. There's just so much that people don't truly understand what you do, not just with the general public, but like other healthcare professionals. And so I hope that this is going to give all the flight nurses all of the information. I guess I'll get all their information out there, kind of a thing.
Yeah. It was so hard too. I grew up in the early 2000s. I guess I didn't grow up. I started like my adult career. I graduated high school in 2014, and there was like nothing on flight nursing at the time. Like I would Google around, don't know anything. So I've kind of made it my own personal mission to expose our career a little bit, so we're not just hiding in the shadows.
Yeah, absolutely. And then in case anybody listening is interested in becoming a flight nurse, tell me what that process looked. Tell me what your process looked like specifically, not just like the how to become, but what did your process look like?
Absolutely. I think I'll start like generically and then say what my process looked like, because the generic path is you can get onto the aircraft two ways. You can be a paramedic or a nurse. And now like there are these non-cookie cutter programs, or like they'll fly a respiratory therapist, they'll fly physicians sometimes. It's just usually not the most common thing. So I'll stick to the paramedicine and nursing route. And, if you're a respiratory therapist and wants to get into it, DM me, we can go from there. As what they want is someone that's experienced, because we do bring a little bit more of the critical care side to the table, and it's a much more chaotic environment than the hospital or than even just 911 ground, because you're in a more confined space, it's noisy, all the things. So most programs want at least 3, if not 5 years. If you're a paramedic, that'll be ground 911 experience. If you're a nurse, it'll be either ICU or ER. And it really could be any type of ICU or ER or a mix. But I tried to say the highest acuity you can find, ICU or ER, so that way you're readily exposed to the most critical patients that you can be exposed to. My path, I kind of packed like 5 careers in at one time. There was a time I was in nursing school, I was working 4 jobs. And I started it was rough. I started as a teenage lifeguard, and that's kind of what got the whole ball rolling. And while I was still kind of figuring out what I wanted to do, just kind of stuck with that. Went to EMT school, was a firefighter EMT for a little bit it was a volunteer service, but we had like full-time hours. I was lifeguarding at a couple of places, teaching CPR and first aid. And then also in the background, decided to join the military. So combat medic in the Army National Guard on top of all that. So just to recap, fire, EMS, little military medicine on the side. And then after I got through nursing school, I did a year in the ER and then 2 years in the cardiac ICU. And while that is sufficient experience on the job description side, they kind of want to see a little bit more leadership. In that time, I took on the charge nurse role, preceptor roles. I was running the code team for a hospital during the pandemic. I just kind of put all of that compressed, and that became my entire life, my personality for most of my early 20s.
Yeah, I can relate to that for sure.
Yeah.
I think my whole personality now is athletic training. 100%.
I can only imagine.
Okay, awesome. Would you say it has any aspect of who you know? Because I've heard that out here too, because I have worked with some people when we work hospitals and stuff, talking about how they're trying to get into the flight thing. I know that out here, it's a little bit different. We don't have as many crews. And so here it's very like who you know, or do you think it's more based in experiences?
I think it's a little bit of both, but there is definitely an aspect of you have to get your foot in the door somehow. And when I was just begging to be on a flight team before I was even qualified to, I was literally cold emailing every flight crew within a 3-hour drive. I was cold DMing them on Instagram, Facebook. I was YouTubing every little thing to see if I could find a contact. If they were putting on like a hands-only CPR class out in the public, I would try to show up to it just so I could shake hands with one of them.
Yeah,
Doing
okay.
that for years. And when you finally put your name into interview, even if you don't get a yes in the interview, that's when they learn who you are. So you kind of have to
Mhm.
be okay with taking the L's a couple times before you can really get your foot in the door and be somebody they want to hire.
Yeah, yeah. It's like a grind, almost meeting people as much as it was learning.
Absolutely.
Learning to get here. Okay, so it's equal. I'm glad I asked that question then. Okay.
Yeah.
And then have you ever played any role in the sports medicine team at all? Have you ever seen any sports related injuries or been called on or anything like that?
It was actually kind of funny. And this is kind of how I related to your page whenever I found it. I didn't really do sports medicine per se, but I did high school sports and I developed a really cool, like fun relationship with our athletic trainer at the time. He and I just, would always vibe during practice and whatever. I like to
Yeah.
say I didn't play football, but I was on the team every year. So like while I was on the sidelines,
No, a
right,
Velcro athlete.
yeah. He and I would just be hanging out. But then, like, because I had the lifeguarding background and whatnot, like,
Mhm.
it's one of those where I knew I wanted to do healthcare. So I was picking his brain a little bit. And then that turns into, oh, actually, someone does need a little bit of help, but I can trust Carson because he, has a little bit of stuff and knows how to use his hands. And one thing
Yeah.
compounds. And then, like, I remember my senior year of wrestling, I actually did wrestle, by the way. I wasn't on the sidelines for that one. A teammate of mine got, like, knocked the heck out, like, rattled his head and knocked out. And I was one of the first
Yeah.
ones there on the side with him. And I was like, wait, what am I doing? There's a whole athletic trainer here. But that's about as
Yeah.
far as
Yeah.
it goes.
Listen, sometimes if you have the qualifications, I'm okay with the help, especially as an only athletic trainer at a school. Like you keep them alive till I get there, it'll be great.
Heck yeah.
Okay. So when you think of effective interpersonal collaboration or interprofessional collaboration, what does that look like to you in this like what you're in your job scenario?
Yeah. And that's kind of there's so many different avenues that really fall into that, in my opinion. It's
Mhm.
really hard to nail it down to one thing, but what it really comes down to is good conversation, I think, more than anything else.
Yeah.
Because we can be respectful if we only see each other whenever we're actually dealing with the patient, but at the end of the day, there's going to be some sort of divide. Or we can
Mhm.
choose to have conversations like this one and get to know each other a little bit more. So that way, whenever I show up and see recognizable faces and roles, I know more what to expect, what not to expect, right?
Percent. Yeah, I agree with that.
And it also gives us the ability to, you would think it'd be natural for us to train with our fire department, our EMS groups, but are we
Mhm.
training with our athletic trainers and our lifeguards? Because sports injuries are real and
Yeah.
we're all on the same
Yeah.
team here.
Yeah, I know in Arizona they do that with the firefighters and with EMS. Because what a lot of them don't learn, which I recently have found out, is like with heat illness, what is it? Cool then transport is drilled into our heads. I always have an ice tub. It's like gold standard ice tub, all of that kind of stuff. And in Arizona, even as a student, I would go with them to teach the fire department how to use the cooling tub. And I always just thought it was a thing so that we could go meet the firefighters, but I didn't realize that's like not something that's trained everywhere.
Yeah, and that's
Cool
that's
then
wild to me
transport.
too. And this is almost kind of going back to your last question too, but with the whole sports medicine thing, I just completely forget that in combat medicine, you are the athletic trainer for your squad or your platoon. I think
Mhm.
a lot of people
Yeah.
don't realize, like in EMS, everyone wants to be this cool, sexy, like SWAT nurse or SWAT medic, right? And they want to be on the SWAT team.
Yeah.
And I've heard like a good friend of mine, Mike Crunchio, he says all the time, he was a SWAT medic. I was a SWAT medic for like 6 months. You're just the athletic trainer for the team, like them. You make sure they don't get dehydrated. They're going to get heat
Mhm.
injuries, so you make sure you mitigate that.
Yeah. Yeah. And then you are in the Army as well,
Yep, Army National Guard.
correct?
So it's your
Yes.
standard like weekend warrior, 1 weekend a month, 2 weeks out of the year sort of deal.
Okay, yes. I know we have, athletic trainers in the Army. Did you ever or I mean, maybe not so much National Guard. Maybe though. Have you ever
Yeah,
come across them?
this
Okay.
is something I did not expect. So everyone in the military goes through the standard basic training and AIT experience. So
Mhm.
in the army, you go to the same basic training as active duty soldiers, and that's kind of like your high school. That's where you learn how to be a soldier, and then AIT is where you learn how to do your job. In both those environments, at least the platoon level, if not or at least the company level, if not the platoon level, you're assigned an athletic trainer, and that athletic trainer is there present for a lot of your PT sessions. They're available to you to meet up with either on schedule or, talk to the drill sergeants or your leadership, your cadre, saying, I have this injury that's bugging me. I need to talk to the athletic trainer. They've come to find there is a lot of sports medicine involved in the military in order to train up soldiers to be what they need to
Mhm.
be in order to fulfill the mission. And the athletic trainers have a really crucial role in that. My company at AIT had about 3 or 4 athletic trainers, and they got to the point where they were calling us soldier athletes because we trained at least a D2 college level, which is pretty interesting.
That is really cool, yeah. I have always heard that we have athletic trainers in the military. I never really totally understood what their role was. So it's cool to hear it from the recipient.
Yeah, yeah, they genuinely just treat us like your standard, because we're doing physical training twice a day, 3 times or twice a day, 6 times a
Yeah.
week, and so injuries pile up and all the little things, and having athletic trainers physically present for us was an incredible thing they gave us.
Oh, that's amazing. Okay, that's super cool to hear.
I know, right?
What other professions do you typically collaborate with on a day-to-day basis? I know you said a little bit that there was maybe paramedics on the flights with you.
Yes. So it's your typical crew. A lot of states allow nurse, but United States has found that like the most productive crew on an aircraft is one nurse and one paramedic, where we have the exact equal scope. We have the whole idea is if we take our badges off, you can't tell who's who, and we collaborate on every call.
That's amazing. That is like
Yeah,
goals for collaboration. Yeah, I
right,
love that.
right. So I don't have a scope of practice without a partner. Like I can't even,
Mhm.
slap on a band-aid as far as my company's concerned without my partner. So together is when we're bringing that almost position level of that physician extender scope. But in addition to that as well, we are rarely, if ever, a first responder because someone needs to call the helicopter to get there. So anyone you can imagine on the
Okay,
ground
yeah.
that believes that we meet flight criteria, that's who I'm working with. Sometimes it's law enforcement because law enforcement will help set up our landing zones. Fire will also help set up
Mhm.
our landing zones. Usually there is some sort of EMS personnel on scene that's decided, yes, this meets flight criteria, go ahead and send the helicopter. Or a good amount of our flights are from one hospital to another, right? So maybe the small hospital doesn't have quite the capabilities the patient needs. And so they want to get them over
Mhm.
to a hospital with a cath lab or the appropriate type of surgery. So you're now working in collaboration with everyone in that sending team, from the doctor to maybe there's a physical therapist that's working there too, or a respiratory therapist and the nursing staff and
Okay.
everybody there. You're getting the full picture and the plan of care, and you take them to that receiving facility. You're also collaborating and talking about the changes to that receiving facility. There's actually a lot of roles at play, and we're just kind of one little cog in this big machine that's there on the same team to help the patient out.
I would I would say it's very similar to athletic training and you kinda talk to everybody all the time. You have to be
Yeah,
connected with everybody.
absolutely. Like at the end of the day, and it's so easy for us all to forget, we are all on the exact same team here, right? We're all just trying to
Yes,
do one thing, both for the community and for the individual patient in front of us.
exactly, exactly, and it's about the role that we play for that patient or that athlete or anything like that. That is the goal,
Right,
basically.
right.
What is one big challenge you think you have faced working with all of these different people?
The big thing is meeting everybody where they're at. And that's kind of
Mhm.
in a nursing role in general. I kind of feel like the whole idea of the nurse is to be the common ground between any professional you're working with. So starting with the inpatient side, I might have a really critical patient in my ICU that I have a cardiologist consult for, and I also have an intensivist and a pulmonologist and a nephrologist. And it's very easy for these doctors to be very zoned in on their specialty and kind of maybe cue out the other specialties. So it's my job to facilitate those conversations and make sure there's a more holistic care. And then you add in your physical speech, occupational therapy, your techs and your LPNs that I'm helping with delegation for. Anyone from the nutrition side of it, maybe like the cooks of security, I got to delegate and work with them. And then the families are also a very important part of the team for that patient too. So if for some reason a doctor who's his schedule is just packed only has 5 minutes to explain something to a patient or their family, they don't quite understand it. It's my job to also facilitate those conversations. So
Mhm.
the biggest struggle, I think, is understanding the different training levels of the people that we work with, the different vocabularies and different motivations. And in a way, it's
Mhm.
very easy. I think EMS is notorious for this, where we can all get so ego driven in our own lane and only focus on our own lane, as opposed to keeping our eyes open to understanding the different motivations behind what we're.
Yeah. No, I have definitely witnessed that side of EMS a little bit on my
We're
post.
notorious for it.
I honestly I have said it before, but, like, I can't hate them for it. I mean,
Mm.
they are out there. They're seeing things people don't see. They're experiencing stress people don't experience, and I do get it. So I understand how they have to be like, they have just become this tight-knit community.
And they have so much pride for their profession too, which is great to see
Yeah,
because we can't lose that.
absolutely. Yes, and I could not respect them more for what they do.
Absolutely.
What would you say to young members of EMS or new nurses or people, who are new to the flight nursing world? What is some advice you would give to them to promote collaboration
I would
in the
say
field?
it's never too early to start making the changes you want to see and advocating for yourself and being part of the conversation. It's very easy. The nurses have the saying called "We love to eat our young." Right? It's very
Mhm.
easy for you to walk onto a floor where you're the only new person, and there's all these burnt out tenured ICU nurses that are veterans and have been doing this, every day forever because this is how we've always done it. And same thing in some
Mhm.
of these EMS systems where, it's been the same medics forever that are running this and we've always done it this way. And I have these salty attitudes now. And it's also even like on the social media sphere. I'm seeing so many more young people feeling empowered because they see each other speaking on TikTok, on Instagram, and everything else, as opposed to I feel like whenever I was first entering the field, you would look at these people that have been doing it for 10 years and it's like, all right, I got to put in my time before I can actually have a voice. You have a voice now. You're seeing the problems now. You're the fresh face. Bring it up while you're still impassioned and help us out with that.
Yes, I love that. My preceptor when I was starting, I remember he's like, I have been in the career for a few years. He was also young, so I don't know why he said that, but he said, you are in school right now. You're learning stuff right now that I don't know yet. Like research medicine is new every 2 years. 10 years ago, athletic training was not what it is today.
I'm sure.
So yeah, so I think medicine's always changing, so you might I love that, like, you might come into your new job, even day one, knowing something maybe the old nurses don't know, or
Mhm.
something like that. So, yeah, I like that. I think, yes, speak up a little bit more.
Yeah, and on the nursing side, especially during COVID, I don't think I really appreciated, and most people don't appreciate that in school, you have to learn evidence-based curriculum, which is great, except for you realize it takes 5+ years for not only the research to be done, for it to be FDA approved, and for your curriculum staff and your councils or whoever to approve it. Before you know it, that's washed. And then come COVID, we were putting
Yeah,
out new
you're
studies
so
every
right.
couple months.
Yeah.
So it's like if you stop learning your last day of school, you're so behind already. And
Mhm.
these kids are learning at such a faster rate than we used to in school.
Yeah, yeah, so it's a balance. It's like a balance of what you're seeing in person and what you're learning.
Yeah.
We all gotta work together. Can you think of a scenario, maybe with collaborating with somebody else, maybe just a time in your career and you wanna give somebody hope that it was okay to do that, where you would go back and you would redo it, and what would you do?
Yeah, there was a time, peak pandemic, that we didn't have a whole lot of experience left in the ICUs. A lot of them left to go travel. That's where the money was. A lot of them got burnt out and just left the profession in general. And it left what I like to call a bunch of toddlers, myself included, in charge of this ICU. And
Mhm.
the way that we did the whole charge nurse thing is not only are you in charge of your unit, but you are the code and the rapid response team for the entire 500 bed level 1 trauma center. 23-year-old me, believe it or not, my frontal lobe was not even developed yet. And they give us this responsibility. And
Yeah.
there have been so many times where like, you're burnout, you're running your fifth code that day and you interaction with these med surge nurses, these step down nurses that while they're great nurses and they're very good for their unit, it's just codes aren't their thing. They don't typically see them. And you just kind of forget that. And it's very easy to just get frustrated with the way things are being ran before you got there, be frustrated with,
Mhm.
the kind of thing. Then it's also very easy for you to think that that's a direct reflection of the care they're providing. And it's really not because they have a whole different specialty than we do. They're doing the rehab, they're doing
Mhm.
the long-term stuff that we don't do in the ICU, where on the ICU, all we do is shock mitigation and we kind of like leave out the rest of it. So I guess that's a very simple way to put it. We try our best there.
Yeah, yeah.
There was definitely that stage of burnout period where, I wish I would have been able to let myself give other people more grace. And I don't think there was ever a specific situation that I felt standoffish or like, man, I shouldn't have said that. Having that
Mhm.
recognition is going to help you out a lot very early in your career.
Yeah, yeah. No, I definitely have had to work on that too with coaches. I have not worked with coaches who I think are like, my coaches are so fantastic, and I know they have the best interest of the kid at heart. Sometimes I think they forget I need to play like, I do too, and
Mhm.
my knowledge is going to give them better than yours.
Right. Because I remember coming from the era, like in wrestling, they didn't care. You cut your weight, you make your weight class. It don't matter how you do it. And
Mhm.
in football, you hit the guy as hard as you can until he's hurt and you get high fived if you hurt him. And if your bell's rung, it's like you get us go out and play the next day.
Yeah,
It like
yeah.
that was only a generation ago. Like I said, I graduated high school in 14. So like
Yeah,
it
yeah.
really wasn't that long ago. And I know that the whole world's kind of shifting and there's more space for us to have these conversations to protect kids. But I don't
Mhm.
I don't know what your experience is with that, but I'm sure not every coach has kind of learned and grown from that.
No, I definitely get a lot of, like it's mostly the older school coach actually, I can kinda tell what level a coach played at based on their understanding of that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
The ones who never really played past high school and are older, those are the ones who are like, "Ah, he just got his bell rung. Concussions aren't real." I think the coaches who played in college more recently, they are very receptive to what I say about concussion care or injuries with athletes for sure.
I don't mean to opine on your discipline or anything, but I would hazard to
Mm,
guess that if you take some effort to take care of your players and invest in their safety, number one, but also like the science behind the sport as opposed to
mhm.
just feelings and emotions and punishing them with push-ups every single day, you tend to make a better athlete. I don't know.
Yeah, my football coach right now, actually, our head football coach, I think he is one of the best football coaches I have ever worked with because he cares so much about like building the human being, not so much building the athlete. I mean, we did not win any games. I think but again, I still think he is one of the most incredible football coaches. Because our kids walk away from that team like, they walked away from 8 losses. They kept showing up to games. Like, that speaks volumes to high school kids,
I was going to say,
especially
let's
high
be
school
honest.
boys.
This is high school, okay? What we're
Yeah.
doing here is building the person, like just like you said,
Mhm.
academically, and athletically. You're giving them an outlet that gives them free exercise and gives them the mental
Yeah,
toughness, and that's we're building the character here. I would rather have a coach like
exactly.
that every single day that and go over than I would one that just pushes and pushes and pushes and makes us hate life and destroys the program
Yeah,
inside out.
absolutely. I have definitely worked, both of the I've been in both of those shoes, and even from an athletic training standpoint, I almost had to work less, um, with a coach who with our coach now. Like, it makes my job easier because it's less kids coming up to me lying about injuries. It's less kids actually injured. It's just this was actually my first football season I never had to call 911 for at all.
Wow.
And so we love that. And like I said, these kids walk away closer to becoming men, which I think should be the goal in high school.
Mhm.
For sure. I could talk on that forever.
Also, this is completely off topic, but
Yeah.
it's really cool not only seeing females in the role that you're in, but I feel
Thank
like
you.
women's sports ever since like I graduated the last couple of years have made the biggest like surgence. I'm seeing my algorithm is
Yes.
filled of women's wrestling, women's basketball. Like that's really, really cool to see.
Yes, it's super cool. Wrestling meet, wrestling match, tournament, whatever it is.
Hmm.
But there's one out here and it's just for female wrestlers. And it's really cool. I have worked it every year since I have been out here, but it's really cool and it's huge this year. I was talking to the lady who puts it on and it's I think we're gonna have like 300 athletes right now.
Hmm.
Incredible. You're so right. Like women's sports have just evolved in the last 2-3 years out of nowhere, and it's super cool to be a part of with them. We even have a bunch of female wrestlers. I think our school has the most out of most of the schools in our division. We have like 7 of them, which
That's
is a
awesome.
lot. Yeah, out of our team of 30, so a third of our team is girls. That's crazy.
When
Yeah.
I wrestled, we like the entire conference we were in might have one or two females in it. And now it's wild to see that there are all these areas that women can have their own wrestling meets and matches and they're in their own class and
Mhm.
divisions now and they don't have to do the whole like, worrying about am I wrestling men all the time and all the things that come with that. So that's
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah. I love it, and I love, like I kinda like watching my girls be the forefront of it. Yeah, I feel, like, so proud of them.
That is awesome. That is so cool. And it's
Yeah.
like all the role models now they didn't have there. Like I couldn't have named when I was in school probably one female athlete, but now it's like literally in the gym thinking like, man, am I training like Paige Beckers today, or am I training like Caitlin Clark today? And that's so cool.
Yeah.
And even that like I think she's a high schooler. She's kicking butt in wrestling. It's Kova Cradle or something like that. She's all over my algorithm sometimes too. I don't know if you know who I'm talking about, but all
No, I
these
will look her up, though.
yeah, all these cool I'm seeing all these female athletes just really dominate in the role model aspect, and that's cool to see.
Yeah, yeah, that is really cool. I'm gonna ask you some fun questions that are
Okay,
unrelated to healthcare. Just
perfect.
like I said, I wanted to humanize all of us to people.
Yes, absolutely, and that's been my biggest, like, struggle lately that I've been trying to fix, so I love this.
Yeah. Okay, so I know that you talked to me a little bit about, like, exercising, dieting. What is that looking like? What kind of stuff are you doing right now?
Yeah, so I've come to find in EMS, in my opinion, and emergency medicine critical care, it's a non-negotiable if you have a functioning body, right? We do
Mhm,
CPR
yeah.
often. We pull people out of ditches and cars often. Like you don't have to be a super athlete, but you got to have some sort of body. Well, I you don't have to fall into the science behind it. It really helps if you just make an effort to show up, be mobile, and eat right, eat clean. And
Mhm,
I've kind of fallen in love a little bit with the athletic science behind being a capable provider and a capable soldier and all those.
mhm.
What I've really found is, I am constantly training like an in-season athlete. That's the way that I like to put it because, there's no off season for us. Obviously, we're 24/7, 365, but we have to go in with workouts that aren't going to break us, but will promote our mobility and will promote our strength. You can even grow from it a little bit while you're in season, but if you go and just wreck yourself, you're going to go in the next day and you're also not going to be an asset for your patient. So, I've been doing a lot of like low weight, high volume mobility, helping just get in and move for 45 minutes to an hour.
Oh, yeah, if you pull your back trying to pull somebody out of a car, you're a help to no one.
Yeah, and you see a
Mobility's
lot of
huge.
it's it's being talked about better, but there
Mhm.
are still so many EMS providers out there that aren't putting in that kind of work and are a detriment to their patient and are just smell like used mayonnaise and walk up a flight of stairs and are so out of breath by the end of it. And
Uh,
I love it when the patient looks at the provider that they called to help them, asking
mhm.
if they're okay by the time they get to the patient. We just can't be that.
Yeah, I agree. Yes. I always feel like with my athletes, it's more of I don't wanna say, like, it makes them respect me more, but I feel like if I look like I could be an athlete or, could do some of their rehab exercises with them or do some of the strength and conditioning stuff with them, it builds more of a rapport with my athletes, I think. Like, it's like, I know what I'm talking about. I know how to make you an athlete.
And I'm such a believer that your body is your uniform. EMS
Yeah.
and fire has always been very paramilitary, and so is helicopter EMS. But not only should your
Mhm.
uniform be squared away, if you look sloppy with just any clothes that you wear, like, what are you going to think of that provider that you called to help out the
Absolutely.
person that you love, or that you called to help you, and they just look out of shape and crappy? Like, your body is your
Yeah.
uniform. Treat it like that.
Yes, you're so right. That's such a good point. And I do understand because I have made a video on that before too about, like, what to wear, and I understand that what you wear doesn't dictate what you know, but to a stranger, that first impression's everything,
Mm.
and that kinda sets you up for success or it sets you up for a fight before you get success.
And here's my other caveat that I think you can relate to. How
Yeah.
many of your players are right now, like, you can be honest, because maybe I'm going down the wrong path, but how many of them are obsessed with drip? Like, I'm gonna get the cool Nike cleats
Oh,
even though the
yeah.
other ones are fine. Or, like, I'm gonna get the cool towel even though I never wipe my hands on the towel. There is actually science
Everybody wants some
behind,
spat. Yeah.
yeah, look good, feel good, do good though, right? Like, if you
Yes.
yeah, it's a mentality thing. So you need to make yourself squared away so you look good, so you do good, so you feel good. Like, that's okay.
Yeah. 100%. No, that's why I spat on game day. I know everybody hates it, everybody's against it. Sorry, athletic trainers. I spat on game day because it makes my kids feel like they look sick.
You what on
You
game
want
day?
spat is just tape
What's that
outside of
mean?
the cleats. It's like
Gotcha,
tape
gotcha.
over their cleats. Yes, they love it. My kids love it, and they always come in. There's like 5 of them who come in before game day. I'm like, "What color are we doing, you guys?"
Yeah, and I mean, there is something to be said of, like, you gotta have the balance. Like, you can't just be looking at the
Yeah.
drip and not studying or anything. But it all factors in. It's a big centrillium thing.
Mhm. Yes, yes, I think so too. It's all part of being, like, well-rounded.
Yes, absolutely.
Um, okay, coffee or energy drinks?
Ooh, so I just swore off energy drinks a couple weeks ago because I used to do
Good for
back
you.
in the day. You're gonna hate this. I would walk into a night shift knowing I'd get my butt handed to me. So I would do about 3 to 4
Mhm.
scoops of pre-workout a night, and then I checked my blood pressure one time, and my high score was 229 over 145. And yeah. So there was a while there for a
I
good year
thought
and a
I had
half
a
after.
problem.
Yeah. So for about a year and a half, 2 years, while I was weaning down, I do about 4 Red Bulls a day. And finally, I decided, you know what? No, I'm done cold turkey. So for now, just for now, I don't
Mhm,
do any energy drinks. I only get my coffee, my caffeine from iced coffee because I can't do hot drinks or the occasional
mhm.
tea. And it felt terrible for about 2 weeks. And now I feel like better than I ever have.
Wow. Okay, I hear so many stories like that from other athletic trainers, other people in healthcare. Everybody who comes off of caffeine, they're like, "I feel so much better," or when you're on it, you're like,
hmm
"I couldn't live without it. You can't get it away from
Yeah.
me." Like,
Well,
it's definitely an addiction.
there's a like, it is tough because you work these 24-hour shifts and you don't get
Yeah.
time to sleep, or even like the 12-hour night shifts. You come home and you wake right back up and you're back on it. And 2 a.m., you have got to be on it. So it's very easy to fall into this pattern of relying on a stimulus, like some sort of stimulizing
Yeah,
thing, whether that's
that's true,
caffeine or
yeah.
nicotine or, a mix of them. And the problem is your body builds up a tolerance and you escalate, you escalate, you escalate. Before you know it, you genuinely have a physical addiction to that substance
Yeah,
and
like,
you
it
cannot function without it.
legitimately is an addiction.
And let's
Yeah.
also talk about how a Red Bull is like $4 a pop. So if you talk about, I was dropping $12 a day on a substance,
No, that's
you know,
crazy.
and that, like, not to be all Dave Ramsey on you, but like that's a lot of money.
I know. I think that all of the time.
There was a time in my life many moons ago, not in this, definitely have rehabbed out of this quote unquote rehab, such a terrible word to use for it, but I would do the vodka Red Bulls, and there was a time where I would mix pre-workout and rum, and that was a dark time of my life. So don't, yeah, understand the
That's
warning
so
signs
EMS
before they
core of
happen.
you, honestly.
Yeah, my day off, like everyone else would just be over for a house party. We'd be out at the bars, and like I just couldn't get anything to work, so I would be mixing pre-workout and rum. And like, I'm not an alcoholic,
Yeah.
I'm not addicted to energy drinks, but this is definitely a slippery slope. So don't do that
Yeah,
anymore.
I kind of felt the same way in grad school. And so I was definitely deeper into the caffeine hole, but I remember being like that too. Like all my normal friends, normal, non-healthcare, like they would all go
Hmm.
out. And I remember feeling like I was the one who had a problem.
Hmm. And
Not the problem, but like the one everybody worried about.
it's so cultural too, because like it's easy to drink to cope, and it's easy to like you're surrounded both in the military and in the EMS side. We have this big culture of we're all going to go
Yeah,
out when
I can't
we
imagine that.
party, like nurses party, and that's great.
Yes.
But then, like, you realize you take yourself out of that setting and everyone's just kind of staring at you while you're glugging a vodka drink that, like, they're just kind of putting little splurts in,
People who don't get it.
2 shots of vodka.
Like, guys, like that lady.
Yeah. Elmo.
Okay, let me see. Do you have like, this says like a game day ritual, but do you have something that you do before you start work every day? Like a ritual?
So, some of the best advice I got in EMS is to not serve in the geographical area that you live in.
Okay.
I actually live a county away, maybe a county and a half away from where I actually fly out of. And
Okay.
while there's not really like a ritual per se, I've really fallen in love with the hour drive to get there, to just kind of either get my mind right on the way there or my mind
Yeah.
off. And I usually try to fit in a podcast, or if I'm not feeling a
Mhm.
podcast, then I'll throw some music on or something like that. And if I'm feeling like dead silence, it's dead silence, but I have the hour to get myself to wake up and get myself and my mind right. And then also,
Yeah.
you really can't bring this stuff home with you that much. So that hour is also my time to decompress wherever I got to, and then
Like leave
that's my
it
time.
behind.
Yeah, that's my time to actually get home, because my other option is to work at a base at 7 minutes from my house, and I don't think I could roll out of
Mhm.
bed and go to work and be ready, and then also just leave it and be right back home.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's a great ritual. I'm going to start. I think my commute's like 25, 30 minutes. I'm going to start doing that too.
Yeah. Well,
Like I'm
that's
going to
not
steal it.
the hour drive isn't for everyone, but one of the perks of working
No.
24-hour shifts is you work 8 days a month. So like I only have to do that 8 times a month.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I think I kind of have done that, when we have big injuries, like when I have to tell a kid that, they tore their ACL
Hmm.
or, anything
Your
like that.
career's over, buddy.
I like,
Sorry.
yeah, I just kind of like drive home. It's like the hardest thing to tell a kid.
Hmm. I can only imagine.
Oh, do you have any superstitions?
Ooh, there's a lot of them in EMS, and
Yeah.
the biggest one, and this is so cookie cutter of me, but I'm going to say it anyway. I do not believe in the Q word, the B word, or the S word. I wonder if you can guess what those
Okay.
3 are. You never say while I'm
No.
on shift,
No, I don't think I know what they are.
quiet, boring, or
Oh,
slow.
quiet.
Yeah. The moment you say either of those,
Yes, you're
and
right.
I've got a cousin that he's an chemical engineer. He does great work with what he does, but he just doesn't get it. He'll call me in the middle of a shift sometimes, be like, "Is it slow today?" I'm like, "Shut up!" And then like we'll get a
Oh
call
my
immediately. It'll
God.
just be something like storybook. So that's a
Yes,
big one.
yes, 100%. There's always a ref that walks by and he's like, "Hope you have a quiet night." And I'm like, "We
I'm sure
won't
that.
now."
How does that mix on your end with like the superstitions, both on the sports side? Because
Mhm.
everyone's got their own little sports superstitions, plus the medical side.
Oh,
Like, is
yeah.
there a blend there you're noticing?
Oh, yeah. No, and I participate in all of them.
Yeah, I'm
I'm
not
very
gonna wash this jersey
superstitious.
until we lose again.
Literally, yes. I mean, I don't participate in that, but, like, I'll have, like,
Okay.
a shirt. If we win a game and I was wearing that shirt, I'll remember what shirt that was.
Hmm.
Or shoes or whatever. Definitely, like, the full moon. Hate a full moon.
Yeah, I go back and forth on that one. I don't know.
That is I won't say we've had the most emergencies, but, like, on a full moon night, like, I just know I'm out on the field 10, 20
Hmm.
times. It's absurd. And then, yeah, the quiet one, that one drives me crazy. I was working a marathon yesterday, and we had so many people come up, and we were busy a lot of the day, just little mundane things. It wasn't super crazy. And they would come up, like, the 2 seconds it was quiet and be like, "Ah, you guys are pretty bored today?
Why would you say that?
Get out of here."
It's
That's so funny.
one of my. I actually just had the flashback in the moment we were talking about this. My senior year of football, we made the rule we can only get haircuts if we lose. And we had a really good year that year, and all the guys had the Bieber hair by the end of it, and like the
Oh,
the
yeah.
mullet looking down to our
That's so
shoulders.
I love a good superstition.
Yeah, that's another thing I think we can relate on to. Not just the superstitions. You said you were doing event medicine. When I was a lifeguard,
Mhm.
we were the only open water certified lifeguards in the entire region. So we would do all the triathlons, and I worked directly with athletic
Yeah.
trainers doing those too, because we were the only ones allowed to actually physically put hands on someone in the water, not from a boat. So that was pretty cool.
That makes sense. Yeah, yeah. I always wondered about that because obviously when I'm at the beach, you don't see EMS swimming out there. Like the
Right.
lifeguard goes and gets them.
It was funny because you'd have all these really professional firefighters in their pontoon boats and all these like cool guy EMS people and these like the grad degree athletic trainers, and then you had these like 16-year-old
Yeah.
lifeguards
It's
just
like a high
having the time of
schooler
their life
running out
out.
there.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I had a question and then I lost
Oh,
it.
sorry.
It was gonna be a good one. No, you're good. Let me think. Yes, I was gonna talk about working the event medicine stuff. So
Hmm.
they in Charleston, we really don't have enough like EMS out
Hmm.
here for the population. Just we don't have the space for them or whatever. I don't know why. So that's why we don't have EMS at our games in Charleston County. And we don't have, and that's also why athletic trainers are able to work so many things out here. So I work concerts, I work
Wow, that's cool.
marathons, all kinds of stuff. Yeah. And we get to work alongside like the few EMS crews that they can
Hmm.
spare. They'll give us like two or usually two, and then we kind of work with them, and the rest of us filter and they transport. So that's been kind of cool to work alongside them. They know my videos. We've talked about it. They are not mad.
Yeah, I think it is cool. Where I came from, it depended on the sport, but football, I think it was a state law, if not a municipal law, that you had to have an ambulance and
Hmm.
an EMS crew on site for football. And that was always a tough one because how can we coordinate that? We have one ambulance in the county, we've got two ambulances in the county. How do you make that work? And so it really relies
Yeah.
on the volunteer crews, and you have the volunteer crews. Plus, our schools weren't required at the time to have athletic trainers. I think they are now, but I couldn't speak on that
Yeah.
for certain. But having that intercollaboration was a big deal. And where was I going
Hmm.
with this? But the event medicine and having that there. Oh, but the other sports I didn't have to have an ambulance there for. This is
Hmm.
kind of a fun story. You might enjoy this. My grandpa was an athletic director for a high school district, and they just adopted
Okay.
football. And by law you had to have an ambulance there. And I don't know how much you
Hmm.
know the history of EMS, but what it was there were a lot of areas that there was one person that had a vehicle that could move patients from one spot to another, and that was a funeral director at a hearse. And so what they would do is they would take the funeral hearse and put a light on top of it. So they instituted this new contact sport called football that everybody was afraid of, and they had to have a hearse at every game. So the people would walk in seeing this new sport
Wow.
with a hearse right there because it's the ambulance on site.
And hey, if it all goes south, you have you have the right car.
Yeah,
Just
yeah, absolutely. No, and that was like probably the 60s, or thereabout now. We've
yeah.
obviously developed since then, but yeah, there was a time where
No, that's
we would just have
so
hearses at
interesting. That's
games.
a great story.
Yeah.
I would love if there are some schools the first school that I worked at, they would pay private EMS to be at the
Mm.
games, and that was fantastic. I will say though, in my experience, I think most emergencies actually happen at practice.
Yeah,
So
that's
we have to
fair.
wait for them to get there anyway.
I do think that it's underappreciated because, for example, you have a big crowd at football, sure, and you have the EMS personnel and
Hmm.
maybe some law enforcement there. But take a basketball game, there's several thousand people all in the same room, and it's not required to have
Yeah.
any EMS there. And so it's very realistic. The only medically trained person there is you. And it's one thing, you have an orthopedic injury to a 16-year-old, it's
Hmm.
sucks. Don't get me wrong. It's hard to deal with, but you also have their grandpa in the stands that just slipped on the stairs, smacked their head on blood thinners, and might be having a cardiac
Yes.
event. Like that's just you.
Yeah, that actually something like that happened when I was my first year as an athletic trainer. It was one of my first games working alone. And like, okay, I guess that's me, I guess.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that was the moment where I was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm not only in charge of these athletes. I
Hmm.
forgot about the fans."
Right. Right.
She
Mhm.
was okay though. I saw her the next game.
Yeah. Yeah. And I,
Yeah.
I can also imagine the kind of role that you're in when it comes to because I feel like in EMS, it's such a thing to get a refusal and turn and release somebody. And especially in the nursing side, like we don't like to touch that. If they're our patient, they're our patient, while doctor sees them. I feel like you're in a role
Mhm.
where your job is to manage something without any extra follow up. And you're probably very comfortable turning and releasing athletes. And that's got to be a scary
Mhm.
thing too. Because if I look at an orthopedic injury, I like to think I'm decently trained, but I don't know if it's broke or not. I don't feel good turning and releasing, but you also can't send everybody to the ER.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's one of the coolest honestly the best thing about being an athletic trainer, one of the coolest opportunities, not just like for me, but for even my athletes, like is knowing if they need to go to the ER or not. Like being that person that knows if that needs to happen or
I'm sure your
not.
triage
And
skills
just
are
from like
super appreciated, underrated.
thank you. Yeah, that's one of the I remember somebody said that to me one time. Like the athletic trainer's ability to triage is like second to none. And I was like,
Hmm.
that's so nice of you. But that is most of my job is knowing if this is going to be an EMS call or if it's not. And I made a video about this before actually. Like I prevent so many stupid calls
Hmm.
to
And
EMS.
I think it's not even an EMS call too. It's do you go with dad to the ER, or do you
Yes.
follow up with this outpatient, or is this something that we can just
Mm-hmm.
watch at our level here for the next couple practices? Like there's so
Yes,
many,
exactly.
there's so much depth to that type of triage and that's got to be almost daunting, you know?
Yeah, yes, and even just saving the school money, saving parents' money,
Hmm.
they don't have to go from doctor to doctor to doctor. I know which doctor you need to go see. I know if
Yeah.
it's needs to happen now, if we can, like you said, wait it out and then make the appointment. And I also have a relationship with our team doc. I work with him in clinic, and so if I have to get you in the next day, like, we could pull some strings, we can get you in.
Right. And also too, like it's not that cut and dry. It's just urgent care is at ER, you know?
Tell me what your one thing that you cannot live without on Amazon is, because I'm gonna put it on my storefront.
Like merch wise, you mean? Or
Just anything. What's something on Amazon that you couldn't live without?
so I don't really get on Amazon a whole lot, but like something
Okay.
that from the EMS side, boots are a big
Mhm.
deal. But
Okay.
I really feel like the most underappreciated is going to be a water bottle. Like if you can get a good water bottle
I
deal
love
going,
that.
yeah.
Yes.
Hydration is. Let's also talk about our generation was terrible about that sort of thing. But I'm seeing young people are so good about this water bottle trend
Yes.
where everyone's got a water bottle with them and
Everybody's
everyone's
got their
hydrating.
Stanley.
And we're
Yes,
doing our
I love
skincare and
it.
like everyone's just glowing. Like they didn't used to do that, you know?
Yes. As everybody's learning how to be healthy.
Hmm.
It's
It's
not like
part of your
weird
outfit
knowledge
is a
for
water
somebody
bottle you're
to.
bringing. Yeah,
Absolutely. That's how I use it. I have a whole pantry full of water bottles
that's
right now.
perfect.
That's a good one. Okay, and then if you weren't in healthcare, what do you think you would do?
That's a great question because the origin of the story being that I got this lifeguard job on a whim one day as I was a broke college kid that needed a car. And then like
Mhm.
I thought I was going to do professional music for a while, and turns out that's not a very sustainable career unless you just full send it. So I was like,
Yeah.
medicine, I know how to do this kind of in first aid, and just kind of took that and ran with it. And I haven't really thought about
Mhm.
anything else since. But I did tell myself if I couldn't get into flight, I wasn't going to do ICU forever. That was not sustainable. So my backup plan was to
Mhm.
go full time fire or to go law enforcement, just depending on what academies were open. And luckily, I got the flight gig.
Okay. So
I don't know if I told you this in the prep too. Both my parents are educators. My dad was my principal and then my school superintendent. My mom was a principal at a school district very close to us, and it all runs in the family. So education was a
yeah.
possibility. Maybe
Yeah,
athletic
grandpa
training.
AD.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, you could do athletic.
yeah.
I didn't know you sang though. I'm gonna make you sing
Oh,
on the pod. No, I'm
I
just
don't know
kidding.
about
I
on
won't make
this,
you
but
sing.
yeah, no, I
I won't make you do that.
used to do shows at bars for fun, and have like different projects I'd run around with, just kids being kids kind of thing.
That's cool. Okay. What a good question. That was
Yeah, I
so
know, right?
interesting. Okay, and then
We're not just what our job title is. Okay, we all have lives
no,
here.
no, exactly, exactly. We're people.
Hmm.
Okay, I think that's all the questions that I have. Do you have any like last minute thoughts? Anything you wanted to add?
Yeah. I guess what the best question is, what do you think people understand the least or appreciate the least about athletic trainers, like us, especially in the healthcare profession? What is your contribution that we need to be seeing more?
I think people don't respect the like somebody with a broad scope all of the time. Sports medicine requires a lot of different avenues, I guess, a lot of different skills. So athletic trainers have just kind of adapted and picked up skills and done all this stuff. But it definitely has gotten to a point where people look at us and they're like, there's just no way you can do all of that. And
Right.
like, we do.
I don't know what else to tell you. Mad respect. I have an associate's degree. You got a grad degree. I feel like somewhere in those extra 5 years of school or whatever else it was, like you probably picked up some extra skills along the way. So
Yeah, yeah. So I think that's a big part of it, and I think the name is hard with it too. The name is really hard for people to understand what it is, but mostly just it's not a lot is outside of our scope, if that makes sense. I don't know.
I think people confuse it with two things. I think that people
Mhm.
either think athletic trainer and they immediately think school nurse, but like for PE,
Mhm.
or they think
Yeah.
like technician level, and they kind of forget that it's a whole professional, grad degree path as opposed to nothing wrong with our technicians in the world. I've done that role and I
No, no,
rely on
no.
them quite a bit, but like it's not a
Yeah.
technician role that, went to trade school for 6 months to a year. It's a formal degree path.
Yeah, yes, actually I think that might be one of the biggest things too is people just think I'm like some coach who watched a video on taping an ankle
Hmm.
and is minimally CPR certified.
Right.
Yeah, that's probably the hardest part. Well, we're working on it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then before we close out, how can people find you online?
Yeah, so I post very inconsistently, but I am on Instagram and TikTok. My name is Carson Root, CarsonRoot. It's Root's fine. I like that. On Instagram, it's at Root Carson, and on TikTok, it's at Carson.Root. And I know this because I did a conference recently, and everyone thought my name was Root. They like thought my first name was Root, so like they were
I
calling me
thought it
that.
was Root too, so I'm glad I didn't say it.
No, you can say it too. It's funny because in the military we all go by last names, and so I'm so used to being called Root anyway. Like
Hmm.
whatever.
Yeah, perfect. Okay,
Yeah.
well, thank you so much for coming on my
No,
podcast, and thank you for talking and helping me get this off the ground
thank
and
you so much for having me. This was super
rolling with the
fun.
kinks.
And I'm not going to lie, when
Yeah.
an athletic trainer reached out to me, I was kind of like, yeah, all right. I don't know what else to say, but this has been a great conversation and it's been a good time. So
Yay!
thank
Oh,
you.
I'm glad. Okay,
Please stay in touch and everything too. It's been great getting to know you.
absolutely. Thank you so much for listening to my very first podcast because I have not actually recorded the first one yet. So we can only go up from here. I have some guests that I'm really excited about coming on in these next couple of weeks. So set your calendars. Next Sunday, I will see you again. Bye.